Here's Fantasy Alpha's Week 6 thoughts on players we're optimistic on. Buccaneers vs. Panthers, Sunday 9:30 a.m. game in London. Tight end Greg Olsen to get back on track versus the Buccaneers. Greg Olsen only has 2 catches the past 2 games, but in Week 2 versus the Bucs, he had 6 for 110. And since then, the Buccaneers have given up a touchdown to a tight end in every single game. Start Greg Olsen with confidence versus the Buccaneers this week. Texans at Chiefs, Sunday 1 p.m. It's wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins' turn this week. Last week, the Texans featured Will Fuller. He had over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, but we think the attention turns back to Hopkins as the main receiver in Houston. He was decent last week at 7 for 88, but he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 1, and we think he definitely finds the end zone versus the Chiefs this week. Texans at the Chiefs again, Sunday 1 p.m. We think running back Duke Johnson's usage is up in a high up-tempo game this week versus the Chiefs. Pass-catching backs have been featured a lot against the Chiefs this season, and Duke Johnson is averaging 9.4 yards per catch and 6.4 yards per carry, and we think they're going to have to utilize Duke a lot more in this up-tempo game. Bengals at Ravens, Sunday 1 p.m. The Ravens running backs to roll over Cincy. Start with Mark Ingram, and then Gus Edwards will eat into them some more. It's no secret that the Bengals are the worst team against the run this year, and the Ravens are one of the best teams running the ball in the league. This is a matchup that heavily favors the Ravens running backs. Redskins at Dolphins, Sunday 1 p.m. Rookie wide receiver Terry McLaurin to shine with Case Keenum back at quarterback. The Dolphins are allowing the most fantasy points to wide receivers this year. Rookie Terry McLaurin has been excellent this season. He even had 3 for 51 in a tough matchup last week versus the Patriots. We think he gets back on track this week with Keenum. Falcons at Cardinals, Sunday 4:05 p.m. Larry Fitzgerald opened often against the weak secondary of the Falcons. A.J. Brown scored 2 touchdowns against them 2 weeks ago, and last week Will Fuller went over 200 yards with 3 touchdowns. With Christian Kirk coming back, that's going to open the field up a lot more for Larry Fitzgerald this week. And then again, Falcons at Cardinals, Sunday 4:05 p.m. Austin Hooper has the most fantasy points of any tight end this season, and now he's playing the Cardinals, who are the worst team against tight ends. We love Hooper to continue his strong run. And finally, the Lions at the Packers, Monday Night Football, Monday at 8:15 p.m. Wide receiver Marvin Jones has good history versus the Green Bay Packers. He has 3 touchdowns in his last 3 games against Green Bay. This is going to be a tight division game, Detroit at Green Bay, so we think Stafford is going to lean on Jones for some big plays on Monday night. And here are some other players to watch. Wide receiver Curtis Samuel versus Tampa Bay, London game 9 a.m. In Week 2 versus the Bucs, Samuel had his best game of the season, 5 for 91, and since then the Bucs have been shredded by every wide receiver they've faced. We like Samuel in this matchup. Wide receiver Demarcus Robinson versus the Houston Texans, Sunday 1 p.m. Sammy Watkins is definitely out. Tyreek Hill is a game-time decision. Either way, Robinson is going to get utilized and still get 5, 6, 7 targets in this game, and the Texans are giving a lot of points to wide receivers. Wide receiver Jamison Crowder versus Dallas, Sunday 4:25 p.m. We like Crowder with Darnold back. We don't necessarily like Darnold this week, but we do like Crowder. Week 1, he had 14 catches, and we think he's going to be Darnold's safety valve this week. Maybe get 6, 7, even 8 catches versus the Cowboys. And finally, we're going with another Ravens running back versus the Bengals, running back Justice Hill. We talked about Ingram and Edwards. We also think Hill is a sleeper to find some room and even the end zone versus the Bengals. And those are the players we're optimistic on. And here's our Week 6 thoughts on players we're skeptical on. Eagles at Vikings, Sunday 1 p.m. Running back Miles Sanders' running struggles to continue. He's only averaging 3.6 yards per carry this season, and Miles Sanders is losing a lot of carries to Jordan Howard, especially around the goal line. Again, Eagles at Vikings, Sunday 1 p.m. Wide receiver Alshon Jeffrey to be held in check against cornerback Xavier Rhodes. The Vikings only allow 204 pass yards per game, 6th in the league, and Rhodes is not giving up many yards or touchdowns to opposing wide receivers this year. Jeffrey's in for his toughest matchup yet. Saints at Jaguars, Sunday 1 p.m. Quarterback Teddy Bridgewater comes back down to earth versus the Jaguars' defense. Jaguars' defense still will be without Jalen Ramsey, but Bridgewater put up over 300 yards and 4 passing touchdowns last week. Don't expect those same numbers. He could find success against the Jags, maybe 252 touchdowns, but we think it's going to be more like 220, 230, and 1 touchdown. Seahawks at Browns, Sunday 1 p.m. Rookie wide receiver DK Metcalf versus a tough Browns pass D. The Browns are only allowing 206 pass yards per game. In the last 2 weeks, Metcalf only has 3 total catches. He scored a touchdown last week against the Rams, but besides that, he hasn't done much in 2 weeks. We'd avoid Metcalf this week. Titans at Broncos, Sunday, 4:25 p.m. Running back Royce Freeman's limited usage versus a tough Titans rush defense. The Titans have yet to give up 80 yards to a rusher this season. And Royce Freeman is already splitting carries with Phillip Lindsay getting a little bit more carries than him lately. We'd avoid Freeman's limited usage this week. The 49ers at the Rams, Sunday, 4:05 p.m. Tight end Gerald Everett's usage is back down versus the 49ers. Last week, Everett had 11 targets and he caught 7 balls for 136 yards, but that was with Brandon Cooks out of the game with a concussion. Now Brandon Cooks is back and he plays a 49ers defense that is third best against tight ends. We don't think Everett gets you more than 5 for 40 this week. Again, Niners at Rams, Sunday, 4:05 p.m. Quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo versus the well-rested Rams defense. The Rams played last Thursday. Garoppolo and the Niners played on Monday, so the Rams defense has had 4 extra days to rest over the Niners. And Garoppolo will be without his fullback in this one, so we think it's a tough task for Garoppolo in a tight division game at LA this week. And finally, Cowboys at Jets, Sunday, 4:25 p.m. Sam Darnold a little rusty versus the Cowboys. Darnold has missed his last 3 games, and now he plays a Cowboys pass defense that hasn't let up a passing touchdown in their last 2 games. And here are some others to watch. Tight end O.J. Howard versus the Panthers in London, 9 a.m. Week 2 against the Panthers, Howard didn't catch a single ball, and last week he only had 1 for 10. His usage is way down this year. We'd avoid Howard versus the Panthers. Quarterback Joe Flacco versus the Titans, Sunday, 4:25 p.m. The Titans are only giving up 227 pass yards per game. That's 10th in the NFL. And the over-under in this game is only 40 points. We're not expecting a lot of points here. And the Titans are getting to the quarterback a lot of sacks this season. We think Flacco has a little bit of a down game. Wide receiver Deebo Samuel versus the Rams, Sunday, 4:05 p.m. Samuel is coming off a game where he only caught 1 for 3. And fellow wide receiver Dante Pettis is starting to play a lot more snaps. We don't think Samuel finds success versus the Rams this week. And finally, wide receiver Corey Davis versus the Denver Broncos, Sunday, 4:25 p.m. Denver has been shutting down opposing teams' number 1 wide receivers. They shut down Keenan Allen. They shut down Devontae Adams. They shut down DJ Chark. And they shut down Allen Robinson. We don't think Corey Davis finds success versus the Broncos this week. And those are the players we're skeptical on. And join us for Fantasy Alpha Live, Sunday, October 13th at 11:30 a.m. on IG Live, Instagram Live, at Fantasy Alphas. It's going to be a live Q&A to get all your last-minute lineup questions answered. And also follow us on Twitter, at Fantasy Alphas. We'll be going live there shortly as well. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page right here, where we release weekly thoughts videos every week. And download the Fantasy Alpha app. It's free in the App Store and on Google Play. I'll see you Sunday live at 11:30 a.m. at Fantasy Alphas on Instagram.